product, Claude.
Yeah, it's terrifying. I saw this report about a week ago, and it reminds you, if you've seen the Will Smith movie I, Robot, where that robot got smart enough to think differently. That's what's scary about this, because it teaches the software to learn, but that's scary.
I feel like we've opened Pandora's box with this.
I think a lot of people think that.
Okay.
Okay. Let's switch gears to digital anchor Garrett Weimer, who hopefully will turn this ship around right now after that scary story. Good morning, Garrett. How are you doing today?
Well, I was doing fine until
Right.
just then,
Sure,
but now a little shaken. But coming up on Fox 35 News Plus, we've got a lot to cover. There's been a lot going on, really just over this past hour. One of the things we're going to bring to you is Polk County Sheriff Grady Judd talking about this large fentanyl bust that involved the arrest of 2 people who they say were leading a couple of the largest transnational drug cartels. So some interesting details from that one. And you never want to sleep on a Polk County Sheriff Grady Judd news conference either. So we'll have that for you and a whole lot more coming up on Fox 35 News Plus on Fox Local, guys.
Wow. All right. Good stuff.
Sorry to bring you down, Garrett. Between that and the shark story, we're getting everybody scared, but we're not done yet. We've got one more story to redeem ourselves. Good to see you, Garrett.
Please do.
Let's hope this is a good one. Costco has been rolling out plenty of new food court offerings this summer, but a lot of the wholesalers' most loyal fans, they are longing for the old favorite, the churro. The churro's the favorite. I didn't know that. Hundreds of people taking to Reddit to campaign for the return of the $1 treat. Well, that's a big reason right there. It was replaced last year with the viral double chocolate chunk cookie. The campaign didn't want to get rid of either. They want both to be on the menu full time. I could get behind that. That led to a bigger debate about which one is better. So,
It says anchors debate now. Right.
I've never had either, but I do love a good churro. I mean, I do.
Me
They're
too.
good.
Yeah.
Especially with like chocolate sauce.
I'm going to go churro for
great.
now, but I would be open to the other one also.
Okay. All right. Well, some people like pub subs on the beach, but what about some nuggets from Chick-fil-A? Beachgoers in Destin got their meals delivered by boat. Chick-fil-A worker captured on camera sailing to shore with food for a hungry customer. No word yet if the chain will extend its boat delivery service to other areas surrounded by water, but I can guarantee you they won't deliver on Sunday.
They will not. I like that. Well,
No.
think about it. It's hard with your location because you're drifting. So you know, you just keep
That's
drifting
a
down the
good
beach.
point.
You know, I mean,
That's a good
they'd have to come
point.
find you.
Right?
But no Sunday delivery. You're right.
Yeah, I wonder what the delivery charge is. It's got to be.
It's true.
I gotta think. Yeah, I don't know.
Because boat gas is expensive.
I would think so.
Yeah.
And I wonder what was on there, but maybe I'm just getting hungry. Were there
The
waffle
service
fries?
charge, you'd have to tip them too.
Yeah, you would. Yeah, I agree.
Although you don't tip at Chick-fil-A, so I don't know. Be interesting to see. I feel like we picked it up.
These things happen on the ocean.
We really did.
Yeah, we covered a lot of ground.
Right.
Thanks for joining us, everyone out there, on this Good Day Orlando Extra. We're going to see you tomorrow again at 10 o'clock.
You're watching Fox 35 News Plus, streaming on Fox Local.
Well, good morning to you and welcome into Fox 35 News Plus. I am Garrett Weimer and thanks for joining us on this Tuesday morning live on Fox Local and on YouTube. We've got a lot to get to. It has been a busy morning here in the Fox 35 newsroom. I want to let you know a little bit of what we've got going on for you here over this next hour. We're going to check in a little bit with Fox 35 Storm Team meteorologist Brooks Garner because the first tropical storm has formed in the Atlantic. Thankfully, no threat to land here in Florida. But we're going to talk all about that and what it means for the rest of the upcoming hurricane season in the Atlantic as well. Sheriff Grady Judd speaking just a little bit ago about a large fentanyl bust in Polk County involving two Mexican cartels. They say now two of the leaders of those cartels have been arrested as part of that bust that involved a number of different agencies. We'll get into that in just a little bit. And also, the wife of suspended Osceola County Sheriff Marcos Lopez appeared in court today after being arrested. She is now facing charges in connection with this investigation as well. But we do want to go ahead and begin with that story out of Polk County where Sheriff Judd spoke just a few minutes ago about this drug trafficking investigation that involved a number of agencies, local and federal. We know that FDLE was involved in this. We know Homeland Security, not just out of Tampa, but out of Phoenix, Arizona, involved in this. U.S. Border Patrol, a number of other agencies as well. And now, according to investigators, two leaders of the two largest transnational cartels were caught shipping drugs across the southern border in this investigation that spanned nearly a year. Here is Sheriff Judd talking about that just a few minutes ago.
We all work together to protect people and keep people alive and safe. So let me introduce you to the Sinaloa cartel and the Jalisco cartel. The Sinaloa cartel has been weakened some with the arrest of its leadership. They're actually working together some with the Jalisco cartel, which is the two largest drug trafficking organizations in Mexico. They call it transnational criminal enterprises. These people are violent, these people want your money, and they don't care whether or not they take your life. So we start out with these two groups of very dangerous people delivering a very dangerous drug. This is not the only drug that they deal with, but we're going to focus on fentanyl today. I'll give you the 30,000-foot overview. It started in July of 24 with a fentanyl pill investigation. And between July 24th to January of 25, there were 8 kilos of fentanyl pills, or 80,000 pills that came in from Phoenix. They came across the border in Mexico to Phoenix and ultimately to us. There were 6 operations during this total time with about 8 kilos of drugs that were seized. And then on April 28th of 25, we seized 4 more kilos, 40,000 more pills. It was delivered by Regina Headsmith of the Sinaloa cartel. So these are the 2 representatives we arrested from the Sinaloa cartel. These are the folks that were assigned to the Jalisco cartel in the pending operations. So we ultimately arrested her for delivering 4 kilos of fentanyl pills, and she delivered those to Lakeland, Florida. She was ultimately arrested on June the 19th in Maricopa, Arizona, Maricopa County, Arizona. And then there was Adrian Munga. He flew from Phoenix to Tampa to Bartow to pick up the cash for the 4,000 pills. He was arrested on June the 17th when he came a second time to bring us 4 kilos of. So between all of their transactions, we seized 35 pounds of fentanyl pills, or about 160,000 pills. Now, 1 pill is a hit, 1 pill. But understand, we had 160,000 hits. But that's not enough. The good dealers will tell you when you buy these fentanyl pills that, hey, if your body's not used to it, don't take more than a half pill, or we suggest you start with a quarter of a pill because it'll kill you. Now, your drug dealer's telling you that you should start with a quarter pill because if you're not an experienced doper, it'll kill you. Then move up to a half pill and then a full pill. These pills are pressed in Mexico. There's no quality control over this. So you don't know how powerful this pill is. But 160,000 pills. Now, this Jalisco operation was totally separate. It was not pills. This Jalisco operation was all powder or bricked up. And it also came from traffickers out of Mexico, not related to the pill side. And the investigations started and proceeded when we, let me get to past my notes here, because we took the Sinaloa group off, and then we started working on April 2025 on the powdered operation. And we worked from Alberto Diaz. He flew from California to Tampa to Bartow, and he brought drugs. He was a transport guy. Oh, by the way, he brought his daughter with him. The two of them were involved in transport. We learned that they transported for the Jalisco operation and also picked up money. We found out that Gloria Trujillo Duque, who's 44, from Atlanta, she brought 5 kilos that originated in Mexico. She came from Atlanta, and she was the money person for the cartel. Her job was to do the finance. Keep in mind that in addition to that, we had a cousin to Miguel who brought 5 kilos in. She's the only one that's on an immigration hold for violating her permit to come 25 miles inside the U.S. border. Somehow when she ended up here, we calculated she was just a little past her 25-mile limit. On April 28th, we got 5 kilos from Mexico. And how are they delivering it to us? In batteries. You see the pictures, and it's in the battery. That's right. So when you see someone on the side of the road maybe putting a new battery in their car, you think to yourself, they've got a bad battery. They had to get another one. Well, what we know is 5 kilos of fentanyl will go in this battery. Now, let me tell you this. The battery still works, okay? So they rigged the battery so that it cranks the car. It actually works. And then they just take the battery out, deliver the battery to you. You think it's a bad battery. They're going to take it in to exchange it. They put another battery in the car. Well, in fact, they've delivered 5 kilos. May 24th, we take a delivery in Auburndale. The Auburndale police were vital in this operation. And we seized another 29 pounds of pure fentanyl. Let me say that again. 29 pounds of pure fentanyl. So between the two operations and the different deliveries of the drugs, we looped all of these folks in as either couriers of the drugs or financiers to pick up the money or transport people. And we seized a total of 64 pounds. 64 pounds of fentanyl in these 2 operations. That's enough to overdose and kill 14.5 million people. Let me say that again. Our detectives and our agents from the federal, the state, and the local level potentially save the lives of up to 14.5 million people. Or think of it this way. We seized enough drugs to overdose and kill everyone in the state of Ohio, or everyone in the state of Pennsylvania, or everyone in the state of Illinois, and have drugs to kill people left over.
That was Sheriff Grady Judd just moments ago talking about that large bust there, and again putting in perspective, 64 pounds of fentanyl seized, enough to kill 14.5 million people. We're going to take a break here on Fox 35 News Plus, but we have much more to come, so keep it right here on Fox Local and on YouTube.
You're watching Fox 35 News Plus, streaming on Fox Local.
Welcome back into Fox 35 News Plus. Give you a live look outside the Lake County Jail, where we have been. We've had crews staking out for days now, a couple of weeks now, since the arrest of suspended Osceola County Sheriff Marcos Lopez. We have also learned his estranged wife has also been arrested and is being held in the Lake County Jail. She made her first appearance in court earlier today. Robin Lopez heard from her defense attorney saying that she was not involved in the conspiracy of this alleged illegal gambling ring that Sheriff Lopez and a number of others are facing charges for. They say Robin Lopez's attorney says that her client just sent one W-9 form to one of those people involved. I want to play for you. It's quite a lengthy first appearance. A lot of times these are pretty short and very standard hearings. This one went on for about half an hour, maybe longer. So I want to play for you as we saw Robin Lopez make that first appearance in court this morning and hear from her attorney as to why she believes that the bond set at $400,000 is too high.
There's, again, no proof or even allegation in the affidavit that she personally profited. This is a nonviolent crime. All of the factors under the statute and rule point towards a very reasonable bond being imposed here. She did not flee after Mr. Marcos Lopez and the others were arrested. She remained in her home. It's where she was arrested yesterday. It was outside of her home. She does not have significant financial resources. The state has done this exhaustive investigation and believes that she has $120,000. So we know that a bond of $400,000 would be outside of her financial reach, and we know that a bond outside of her financial reach is tantamount to no bond. Bond is not allowed to be used punitively, and setting a bond in the amount of $400,000 here would certainly be punitive and intended to hold her in jail. Two of her co-defendants were released on the conspiracy count on a $50,000 bond. They are both released. They are no longer in custody. There is no reason to believe that Ms. Severance Lopez should have a bond higher than what those co-defendants at $50,000 on the conspiracy count had. All of the favors point in favor of her, and there is no basis for the court to hold her pending proof of funds, given the evidence that the state has and the plain language of the rule statute and the 50 CA case law. I'm asking this court to set a monetary bond of $50,000 or less in this case. Thank you.
Your Honor, if I may just be heard, just to clarify just a couple points, it'll just be brief.
Go ahead.
First off, counsel is offering a misstatement of the law as it relates to conspiracy to engage in a pattern of racketeering activity. She is imposing upon the state a greater burden than is on the state. Specifically, as it relates to a conspiracy, it is enough for a co-conspirator to knowingly and willfully join in on the plan, even on one occasion in this type of in this charge. That's by way of the jury instruction. So there is a misstatement of law there, but nonetheless, and in fairness to counsel, she has not had the benefit of the case file in this case. She has not had the opportunity to observe all of the evidence that we do have as it relates to Ms. Severance Lopez. And I do, if Your Honor would find it helpful for your consideration today, I do have both the case agents, one from HSI and FDLE on the line, to speak to some of those things if Your Honor would so require. But so there is much greater levels of evidence than what your counsel has been privy to. In addition, Your Honor, just to clarify, when we suggested to Your Honor that Ms. Severance Lopez recently attempted to, or is offering to put up some property to support Marcos Lopez's bond, that was not offered to suggest the co-conspirator relationship. I was merely offering that to highlight that despite all of the other pending factors, the divorce, that they don't talk much and things like that, that occurred. It wasn't being offered to suggest a co-conspirator relationship between the two of them on that particular point. In addition, the state has in its bond request is factoring in the confusion and inconsistency in Ms. Severance Lopez's filings, is the fact that she reports only a small legitimate income reports a small legitimate income, but then has access to unexplained, based on our review of the records, large amounts of cash, where when taken in conjunction with her alleged role in this multiple year operation involving an illegal cash business, creates reason to believe here and probable cause that that cash that she has come into access to is illicit. And as Your Honor may recall, yes, the state had argued that yes, Ms. Severance Lopez had filed with the court in Brevard County an affidavit under oath indicating that she had $123,000 in the bank. But that was also taken into conjunction with just yesterday, she made a almost $200,000 deposit, cash deposit into two bank accounts over a couple of days. And so we're not relying just on the $123,000. We are also including the approximately $177,000 that she had access to just within the last couple of weeks. So we believe she is of meaningful financial resources. We believe a high bond is necessary to secure her appearance. And moreover, Your Honor, as it relates to the source of funds motion, it is important to note that the Sparrow Sparrow case was focusing on the federal decision of United States v. Nebbia. It was calling into question the law as it applied in the state of Florida under the Nebbia decision. That was a federal law. That was what those cases were asked to decide, and we distinguished that in our motion. What is important is to consider that 903046 subsection F is Florida statutory law. It was enacted by the Florida legislature. It was signed by the governor, and it remains constitutional throughout the state of Florida. So counsel's arguments would be more properly asserted if she wanted to question the constitutionality of 903046 subsection F. So we are filing our motion pursuant to that authority, and offered, Your Honor, additional law to show the distinctions between United States v. Nebbia and versus 903046 subsection F. Thank you.
Ms. Monroe, I would ask for a response to Ms. Yard's argument, or part of her argument, that you are requesting a bond significantly higher for this defendant than was already granted for some of the co-defendants.
The co-defendants, Your Honor, the co-defendants in this particular case were not alleged to have profited off this enterprise in the same way as the Lopezes. Marcos Lopez, through the assistance of Robin Severance Lopez, collectively, as co-conspirators in this particular enterprise and as partners, are believed to have profited close to $1 million in this enterprise, based on all of the evidence that we have in this particular case. They are in a significantly different position than the other co-conspirators who had more ministerial roles. They were operated in employment capacities, got paid fees, if you will, small fees for their contributions to this operation. Whereas by way of their partnership, Robin Severance Lopez and Marcos Lopez were operating as partners in basically capitalizing in large part through Marcos Lopez's position as the former sheriff of Osceola County in order to generate the kind of income that was coming in through this enterprise to them. And so that is the distinction between the co-conspirators and the Lopez's involvement.
All right, thank you. All right, the court is going to set a monetary bond in the amount of $400,000 for Ms. Severance Lopez. Additional conditions of pretrial release are that Ms. Severance Lopez surrender her passport and all firearms within 24 hours of release from custody, that she have no contact with Marcos Lopez, and that a GPS monitor be placed on her prior to release. I am also granting the state's amended motion pursuant to section 903.046 and would ask Ms. Monroe to provide a proposed order reflecting the granting of the requests of the state in that amended motion. Ms. Lopez, I want to explain to you the nature of the no victim contact order. You will be asked to sign a no victim contact order acknowledgement upon your release from custody. But that means that you are not permitted to have any contact whatsoever with Marcos Lopez. You can't see him, call him on the phone, text him, send him a Facebook message, or communicate with him by any means whatsoever. You're also not allowed to ask another person to communicate with him on your behalf, for example, to give him a message from you. Do you understand all that, ma'am? I also need to make sure you understand that this is a court order. It's between you and the court, not between you and Mr. Lopez, meaning that only another judge can waive the provisions of the no victim contact order. And if you are found to have violated that in any sense, it could lead to you being rearrested on additional charges and held in the jail, most likely on no bond, until your case was resolved. Do you understand that as well? Okay, thank you all.
Thank you, Your Honor.
That was that hearing just a little bit ago. You saw Robin Lopez making her first appearance in court. They were talking about that no contact order between Lopez and her estranged husband. We had learned that they have been separated since 2019, that the divorce, they filed for divorce in 2023, but has not been finalized. And again, we do know both of them still being held at the Lake County Jail, where we are waiting to see if they might bond out, and if so, if they'll have anything to say about these charges against them. We're going to go ahead and take another break here on Fox 35 News Plus, but we'll be right back after this.
You're watching Fox 35 News Plus, streaming on Fox Local.
Welcome back into Fox 35 News Plus. I'm Garrett Weimer, and thanks for joining us on this Tuesday morning, live on Fox Local and on YouTube. It is a special election day, at least before a primary election in Orlando today, filling the District 15 state Senate seat that was previously held by the late Senator Geraldine Thompson. Some interesting dynamics in this primary race as well, and Fox 35's Marley Capper gives us a preview of what to expect as voters head to the polls today in that state Senate district.
Good morning. It is special elections here in Orange County, and voters aren't used to having to hit the polls here in the summer, but this is a hotly contested race. It's for District 15, the late Senator Geraldine Thompson's seat, and of the 4 people running, 2 of them are siblings, which is something very rare to see. Let's take a look at a picture of all 4 candidates: Coretta Anthony Smith, LaVon Bracey Davis, her brother Randolph Bracey, and Alan Grayson. Thompson died earlier this year after complications from a knee replacement surgery. The winner of this race will advance to the September 2nd general election and face Republican Willie Montague, who secured his party's nomination unopposed. This morning, we talked to the supervisor of elections, Miss Karen Castor-Dental. Here's what she had to say about this interesting race.
Yes, and it's a very hotly contested race, I can tell you. There's a lot of activity. Some people have been probably getting mail in their mailboxes about it, but it only affects the western half of the county. So Apopka, Ocoee, Pine Hills, Washington Shores, College Park, those are the people who would be voting today.
We also have 2 candidates running for the Democratic primary for House District 40. This is to replace LaVon Bracey Davis, who is running for the Senate. It's former Representative Tavares McCurdy and current legislative aide Rashawn Young. The 2 are vying for her spot. Now, the winner will again face 2 Republicans in September 2nd's general election. The polls opened here at 7 a.m. This is a new location here in College Park. It'll be closing at 7 p.m., but as long as you are in line by 7 p.m., you will be able to vote. Again, voters aren't used to voting in the summer, so this is a really good opportunity to bring your family out and show them that democratic process and make sure that you're using your right to vote. For now, reporting in College Park, Marley Capper, Fox 35 News.
And we will have more on that special election coming up in our 2 o'clock show. We will be speaking with Politico Florida, as we do every week on Florida Live, and we'll be talking with them about that special election race and a number of other topics. So we hope you join us at 2 o'clock live here on Fox Local and on YouTube. Today we are also learning more about a shooting in Orange County where deputies shot and killed a man during a standoff. According to the sheriff's office, they say the suspect tried to attack deputies with a knife while they responded to a domestic situation. Fox 35's Amanda McKenzie explains.
The Orange County Sheriff's Office says this all started with a 911 call from a terrified woman saying that she was being held against her will for hours by her boyfriend, who she says was smoking drugs in their apartment. On Monday around 12:45 p.m., she was able to escape and run to the office at the Isles at East Millennia apartment complex to make that 911 call. The Sheriff's Office says the 57-year-old man barricaded himself in the apartment, and after hours of negotiating, the SWAT team surrounded the apartment. Fox 35's cameras captured deputies moving into the complex with tactical gear and rifles. The sheriff's office says the man came out of the room and moved toward their deputies while armed with a knife. That's when they opened fire.
Our deputies are put in a very tricky situation where they have to make a split-second decision on whether to fire their weapon or save their own life or save the life of another person. So it is very, very challenging for our deputies out there.
The man later died at the hospital. Right now, FDLE is investigating the deputy-involved shooting. Reporting from the Orange County Sheriff's Office, Amanda McKenzie, Fox 35 News.
Fox 35 Storm Team meteorologist Brooks Garner joins me now. And Brooks, we're looking at the first tropical storm of the Atlantic season.
Yes, this is the opening volley of what will be a long season, and fortunately one that is no threat to land. Meet Tropical Storm Andrea. This is a minimal tropical storm, and it's likely only to survive today before getting torn apart and being a post-tropical low-pressure system. This is of no consequence to land at all. This is over the open Atlantic, 900 miles northeast of Bermuda, and it's heading out into the northern Atlantic. This is on the same latitude as roughly New York City. So right now it's got winds of 40 miles per hour. As I mentioned, it's a minimal tropical storm. But we go into the B storm next, and that may be a more formidable one. Remember, last year at this time we were looking at Beryl. That was ultimately the earliest Category 5. So it is possible this time of year to get some big ones. This one will not be a big one, and we have nothing else coming down the pike behind this. In fact, in the last few satellite frames, that reddish blip looks like it may be kind of losing some punch there. So this may be a very short-lived system. Here's a visible satellite image showing that same swirl. And it's just, you know, it's not the most organized system, I'll say that, not in the least bit. In fact, there's a mid-level low pressure immediately adjacent to it on the western periphery, that mid-level swirl, and that is adding to some wind shear to tear it apart. That said, this is the red blob that we've been watching, and earlier it had that likelihood to develop, and it certainly did. Well, looking outside right now, everything's calm at our beaches. It's a good beach day out there with temps in the mid-80s. A couple of stray showers may come in from the waters today, but otherwise a dry one. And today will be remembered for probably the heat, more so than the rain chances. But that's going to change later this week. At the beaches, we've got a low to moderate risk for rip currents, waves of 1 to 2 feet. Now, the next big thing is this. This is not a tropical system, but it is coming in from the Atlantic, as a big northeastern heat wave continues to provide triple-digit record-breaking heat for the big cities like D.C., down through Raleigh, and maybe even up into Philly and New York City with 90s there. An upper-level low-pressure system will be guided into Florida around the southern periphery of that larger clockwise circulation. And so that means it'll come in from the east and then be pushed west right over Florida. And that'll happen late this week. And in doing so, we'll see our rain chances going up significantly. It is the rainy season, so it doesn't take much to get afternoon storms pumping. But when you have an actual area of low pressure in the mid and upper levels, that represents an area of lift in the sky as well as cool air aloft. So the heat and humidity can more rapidly rise and storms can become more abundant. So while we've got a dry Tuesday on tap and what'll be a Wednesday featuring just a few isolated storms, as we head toward the end of the week, things are going to change for the storm era. Now, briefly touching on the dust, we've got another round of some dust that'll be coming in for the end of June, making for hazy skies and poor air quality. Now, the good thing about the dust is it tends to tamp down any tropical development before it could get going. So this is one of the reasons why we have nothing else coming down the pike despite Tropical Storm Andrea forming today. In fact, we could have a brand new expulsion of dust coming off of the African continent as we head into the beginning of July. It's common to have these dust outbreaks in late spring and early summer. It's usually about August that the dust finally goes away, the dust settles, and that actually allows for storms to really ramp up and get a lot stronger, and that's when we get into the peak of our hurricane season as we head into August into September. So here's the bottom line with our forecast, Garrett. We are going to see a high today of 93 degrees with a 20% chance for a storm. Tomorrow we've got a 30% chance for a storm. Our high temperature will be 94 degrees. And as we head into Friday and Saturday, our rain chances will ramp up to about a 60 to 70% chance respectively. It looks like we could have some real soakers amounting to greater than 3 or 4 inches of total rainfall accumulation. So if you're feeling the dust in the air, you're looking for a little bit of water, we've got some on the way. Garrett.
All right, so there will be some relief from that. Fox 35 Storm Team meteorologist Brooks Garner, we appreciate you joining us.
Thank you, my pleasure.
And as we go to break here on Fox 35 News Plus, leave you with a view of downtown Orlando and Lake Eola. You see some of those big puffy clouds in the blue sky above the city beautiful today. We're going to take a break here on Fox 35 News Plus, and we'll be right back after this.
You're watching Fox 35 News Plus, streaming on Fox Local.
Welcome back into Fox 35 News Plus. Give you a live look at two different hearings going on right now on Capitol Hill. On the left, you're looking at the Senate Judiciary Committee, who is holding a hearing on they're calling it the thin blue line protecting America from the cartels. They've been talking about border security, drug cartels, certainly timely considering what we heard from Polk County Sheriff Grady Judd earlier in the show. On the right, you are looking at the House Oversight Subcommittee that is holding a meeting right now, a government reform subcommittee, and they're talking about locking in the DOJ cuts, ending waste, fraud, and abuse for good. Several Florida Congress members on that subcommittee as well. We also have Senator Ashley Moody, who was on the Senate Judiciary Committee. We've been monitoring this hearing. I don't think her time to speak has come up yet. It might in the next few minutes. So let's actually go ahead and listen into this, since we've been talking about the border and drug cartels as this hearing continues right now live on Capitol Hill.
Some pinch. Thank you. Senator Moody.
Thank you, Chairman Grassley. Thank you for holding this hearing. Thank you to our witnesses for being here today, and I'm sure you have many in the audience that are here for support. As the wife of a career law enforcement officer, a former DEA agent, thank you for signing up for these dangerous jobs, putting your safety behind the safety of others, and continuing to persevere in the pursuit of law and order. The promise made to a nation under a rule of law a long time ago that we continue to promise to this day, even when so many back away from it, even those that are often put in charge of this nation. I've been here a hot second. I'm the newest member, not only of the United States Senate, but of this committee. And I have learned quickly why the American people often get frustrated with Congress. We are here today specifically for a hearing entitled "The Thin Blue Line Protecting America from Cartels." And I had to listen to the ranking member talk all about the harm that is being caused in Mexico. And I had to hear about another member accuse you of using too many resources to enforce the law, and the harm that that might be having in other nations and not America. And I sat as Attorney General in Florida for many years and listened to President Biden as he called Mexico a great partner, when in fact the president of Mexico suggested that the fentanyl crisis, which kills over 100,000 people a year, is an American problem. And so it is important, I think, to point out that you have leaders in Congress that are purporting to want to help you solve the crisis of the cartels and the deaths in America and the damage to our communities and our families, but yet we're focusing all on what's happening in America or in Mexico, when in fact maybe we should concentrate on the harm to Americans and this country first, which is what the president is trying to do. In fact, you heard the ranking member out of the gate say, "Oh, I think these cartels should be labeled foreign terrorist organizations." Well, he was the chairman of this committee for the last 4 years. And you know who declared these cartels finally foreign terrorist organizations? President Trump and the agencies working for President Trump. In fact, as AG, I called for that for years under Biden, pleading that it would bring more resources to bear, more law enforcement agencies in partnership with the fight. And it fell on deaf ears. In fact, do you know how many hearings we had in this committee over the last 4 years under President Biden? Under Democratic leadership on fentanyl? Zero. Zero. So I want to thank you. As many politicians and leaders in states around this nation undermined law enforcement, tried to defund them, encourage attacks on law enforcement right now as they're trying to do their jobs, that you and so many men and women in law enforcement, not just federal, but state and local, stand bravely and strongly on that thin blue line because they know what it means to be a free people under a rule of law, and that is that you need men and women willing to take the criticism and the attacks and do their jobs and enforce the rule of law. And the fact that you three and so many like you proudly took the oath and wore a badge for so many years, putting your safety behind others, like myself and my family, I want to proudly and make it a priority to say thank you. In fact, everyone up here should publicly say thank you, and to every law enforcement officer out there right now, especially through the last 4 years, as President Biden broke down the border and unleashed drugs, cartel members, those who had barely been vetted into our communities. And you know who held that line? Who showed up every single day and put on a bulletproof vest to protect us in the face of that danger? Law enforcement. They stood on that thin line between chaos and order, between good and evil, for us, and in a broader sense, for this country and what it means to live as a free people under a rule of law. So publicly and proudly, I say thank you. And I want to ask, what do you need to protect America and this nation and our people first and foremost? Because the last person that had that job abdicated that responsibility to an auto pen. So we need to say not how can we first help other countries? How can we first help other nations? How can we first help America? Because we know from the time President Trump was in office until Biden, those on the foreign terrorist watch list that were let in went up 2,500%. What can we do to protect America first and foremost and give you to do your jobs? Let me ask you, Mr. Perez.
Can you give short answers, please?
Yes, sir. Thank you, ma'am, for the comments. I would say the number one challenge for us on the resource piece, obviously human resource is an issue, but really I think continued focus on ensuring that we have the best technology available, the best equipment, the best resources as an agency, as a government, to combat these threats, to combat all types of threats, whether it's terrorism or cartels, ensure we're using and utilizing the most effective technology out there to be more efficient at fighting crime.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Are you done?
Well, I'm never done, but since time is out, I will be done.
Senator
Padilla. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I, too, thank all three of our witnesses for your service and for your participation here today. Been sitting here for a few minutes and observing from my office as well. I know there's a lot of passionate comments that have been shared on both sides of the dais here. And I'll try to stay as focused as I can on policy and to be driven by, I think, some key data points, which are helpful for this discussion. And I would begin by recognizing, and tell me if you disagree,
Senator Alex Padilla there of California speaking now. We heard just moments ago from Ashley Moody from Florida making a number of comments during that hearing. Timing certainly worked out well for us there today. We are going to go ahead and take another break here on Fox 35 News Plus. We'll be right back after this.
You're watching Fox 35 News Plus, streaming on Fox Local.
Welcome back into Fox 35 News Plus. I'm Garrett Weimer, and thanks for joining us on this Tuesday morning. Governor Ron DeSantis was in the panhandle of Florida earlier today, speaking at Shunk Gulley Oyster Bar in Santa Rosa Beach, and he was talking about protecting public beach access, also signing some legislation that was passed by the state lawmakers in this past session. So here's some of what he had to say about preserving Florida's beaches.
We're excited to be able to do this. I know that it's going to be exciting for a lot of folks that live here in Walton County, but also expands opportunities for those who are visiting here. I know this is a great place to visit. I know there's a lot of folks that come down and I'm looking at this sign, $32 for a grouper sandwich. Those are definitely getting those tourists to pony up, which, hey, man, that's America. So, do what you got to do. I don't know that I would pull the trigger on $32. I love grouper sandwich. I don't know if I could pull the trigger on $32. So, the inflation, though, with food has just been amazing over the last however many years. It's been unbelievable. I'll go through, we've got 3 young kids, so I've got a rising third grader, rising second grader, rising kindergartner, and I can't get through the drive-thru at McDonald's without spending $40, $50, it seems. I mean, it's just like one thing. It used to be you could get it very cheap. Now it's more and more. And all these places you go through, you just look and it's like all of a sudden, and something's got to give on that, because I mean that really is difficult for a lot of families to be able to afford. I know we've got some stuff that the legislature did, some tax policy. I want property tax relief more than anything, and so that's what we're going to deliver. I mean, if you own your home and that's like your primary residence and you have a homestead and everything like that, I don't see how government has the right to keep asking you to pony up infinitum to just pay rent to them to just live on the property that you supposedly own. If it's private property, that means you own it free and clear of the government. And I think for too long, we've just allowed some of these local governments, and maybe not as much here, I don't know, but in other parts of the state, massive expansion of local government budgets because property values rise and they just get all this money flowing in, and that's kind of turned into a gravy train. But if you have a home and all of a sudden they're saying it's worth so much more, even with homestead, you still pay more, and that's tough for a lot of people. And so wouldn't it be great, free state of Florida means no income tax and you own your own home without them being able to hit you up for property tax? But I do think they have some stuff in this year's package. Well, one of the things I asked for is a Second Amendment summer. So you're going to be able to buy a Second Amendment without tax on ammo and firearms and accoutrements and all that. I think they expanded to like bow and arrow and all this other stuff, which is fine with me. But people are going to really, really utilize that. I think you're going to see our enthusiasts save an awful lot of money. Then we've got other things like disaster preparedness is now permanent. I think that the back to school is now permanent, so parents are able to save when they buy the school supplies and some of those things. What else was in there? Was there anything else? Yeah, but that affects very little. I mean, we did a thing like Florida is the only state in a country that taxes business rent. It's bad policy, and we eliminated it in this, which I think is good. Don't get me wrong, but that probably affects a relatively small number of people. I think it'll help our economy, and I think we'll be able to go from there. But I'm trying to think if there are any others. I haven't had to sign it yet. We're working through all this. I can tell you, though, I've started to go through a lot of the budget, and this senator here, he got a lot of stuff in the budget. I mean, I see his name like every other place, and he's lucky that him and I have a good relationship because he's gonna do very well, as a result of that. But you just see kind of the same names, kind of pop up. So we're gonna be going through that. But the ultimate on tax is we can't do the property tax through the legislature the way Florida's Constitution is written. We have to put it on the ballot, and you as voters have to approve it when it's on the ballot. Probably it'll be November of 2026. So the next main election that we have, it's our intent to have this. Now, the Senate and the House have to agree to put it on the ballot, and I think there's going to be a lot of support to do that. But you just never know how these things work out. But if we have an opportunity to do that, it really will be historic for the state of Florida. And people say, well, you have these small counties, these rural counties, like you guys here, and you can tax the tourists. You have other ways to be able to fund your operations rather than taxing your residents, primary residents. But what about the rural counties? And some of the members here, I know Shane's got rural counties, other folks. I run the numbers. We have like 31 fiscally constrained counties, mostly in the northern part of the state. And if you totally eliminated property tax on everybody's all Florida residents' primary homesteaded properties, you could backfill 100% of that revenue loss. It's $300 million a year, which is not a lot for us to be able to handle for the state of Florida. So every rural resident should want us to do this, and don't let them tell you they're not going to have money. We can give money if that's what it takes to get the job done. So we're going to be working really hard on that. I think it's something that the folks here really deserve. And, you know, I look about people here, every time I run into someone, it's like, oh, yeah, I'm a Florida resident now. Like, people, when did you buy, where are you at? And they'll be like, oh, I'm in Santa Rosa Beach. When did you buy the property? Oh, I bought it in 2018. I'm like, you've made a lot of money off that property since then, because the values have gone up. And while there's good for that, because people that own it have more equity and have more wealth, you know, the reality is if they're going to come tell you your house is worth twice as much than what you purchased it, and you got to pay higher taxes as a result, that's a negative of having rising property values. And it's an unrealized gain. You sell your house, it's one thing on a transaction for someone to say to tax, like a sales tax, but to say you're just enjoying property and all of a sudden the value, so you have to pony up. We don't really do that in anything else. I mean, you buy a stock, you hold it, and then you're taxed when you sell it. The stock doubles, they don't just tax you as you hold it. So unrealized gains is not the way you want to run a tax system, but our property tax system basically relies on these unrealized gains. So we're going to work hard to provide relief, but ultimately we can't, as elected leaders, deliver the relief without the voters approving it at the ballot box. And so just get ready. You're going to have an opportunity to do that. I'm sure it's going to be very favorably received.
Governor Ron DeSantis speaking in Santa Rosa Beach up in the Panhandle today. Beautiful background there behind him as he talks about public beach access. A number of other, I was also talking about property taxes, some other things as well. Also signing that legislation to protect public beach access. Thanks for joining us here on Fox 35 News Plus this morning. We still have a lot to get to later today, so we hope you join us at 2 o'clock for Florida Live. We are going to be speaking with FPL about their preparations for hurricane season. We are going to be, it's Playbook Tuesday, so that means we're going to be talking with Politico Florida. Going to be talking a lot about that special election in Orlando, a number of other things as well. And we are previewing